Suspense. Tonight, Columbia brings you as guest star Hollywood's genial character actor, Stewart Erwin. The story is by the author of The Thin Man and the Maltese Falcon, Dashiell Hammett, one of America's acknowledged masters of the art of suspense. Suspense is compounded of mystery and intrigue and dangerous adventure. In this series are stories calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. Tonight, for instance, Stewart Erwin plays for us a pleasant, easygoing assistant chief of police in a small town who, to everyone's surprise, was instrumental in solving a murder. We trust that with this tale we shall keep you in suspense.
For Suspense tonight, CBS presents Stewart Erwin in Two Sharp Knives by Dashiell Hammett.
Shortly after 2 a.m., a poker game had just broken up at Ben Camley's, the doctor coroner of Deerwood City. Scott Anderson, Deerwood's chief of police, and Wally Shane, his assistant, were standing outside.
Where are we heading for, Scott?
Let's walk across the street, Wally. Railroad station.
Gee, aren't you afraid of the excitement, Chief? Don't you think that watching the 211 come in is apt to be too much for your blood pressure?
Well, if it is, Wally, you can always carry on. You've been a pretty good imitation of an assistant to me for some time now.
Yeah?
Yeah. If anything happens to me, you'd be the chief. Don't worry. It won't be any harder for you to fool the public as chief. Hi, Elmer.
Howdy, Scott. Hi, hello, Wally. Kind of late for you boys to be around, ain't it?
No, I don't know. We sort of figured we'd put the town to bed tonight. How's the 211? On time?
Right on the nose. She ought to be blowing for the bend in just about 3 seconds now. Yep. What'd I tell you? That's her now. Expecting anyone on her, Scott?
No, Elmer, I'm not expecting anyone. Wally and I just thought we'd come over and watch you come in, that's all.
You know, Elmer, you never can tell who might get off, though. Dick Turpin, Henry Morgan, Jesse James, Jack the Ripper, or 6 officers of Murder Incorporated, or even your Aunt Gussie.
I guess you're right, Wally. Well, here she be. Pardon me, gents, but I gotta be rolling the wagon out to the baggage car.
How's it going?
Well, can't complain, Cap.
Well, maybe you can't, Elmer, but I sure can if you hold us up with that freight there. You got much more?
Nope, this is the last piece now. There you are, Cap. All done.
Okay. See you tomorrow, Elmer.
Hey, Scott, do you see what I see?
I mean, do I see the man who just got off that train? The answer's yes.
Well, he's a ringer for the guy we got a picture of.
That is the guy.
Well, then, what do we do now?
We take him, Wally. My car's at the corner of the alley.
But, Scott...
We'll tail him up the street.
Okay, Scott. There he goes now, over toward the taxi stand.
Come on, let's follow him. Hello, Furman.
Huh? Oh, I don't
You're
believe
Lester Furman, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Philadelphia?
Yes?
I'm Scott Anderson, chief of police.
What? Chief of... What's happened to her?
Happened to who?
Oh, no, you don't.
No?
Let me go.
Oh, no.
You think you can pull that sort of stuff with me? You're
Scott,
very
let me
much
get a
mistaken.
crack at that mug. Oh, no.
Wait a minute.
No.
Wait a minute,
Hold it,
gentlemen.
Wally. Well, Furman?
Well, I'm sorry. For a moment there, I thought you weren't really a policeman.
Thanks. It's nice to know I look almost human.
Yes, it was silly of me. I'm sorry.
Well, let's get going now before anything else happens. Okay, Furman, get in the car. I'll drive, Scott.
In you go.
Are you taking me to police headquarters?
That's right.
What for?
Philadelphia?
I don't think I understand.
You understand that you're wanted in Philadelphia for murder, don't you?
Murder? Why,
That's ridiculous. Who told you that?
Well, it's a cinch he didn't make it up.
But wait, there must be...
Take it easy now. Just wait till we get down to headquarters. And I'll show you what I mean.
Now then, here's the circular on Lester Furman. It was sent out by the Transamerica Detective Agency in Philadelphia. Take a look at it.
Oh, yeah. $1,500 reward for the arrest and conviction of Lester Furman, alias Lloyd Fields, alias J.D. Carpenter, for the murder of Paul Frank Dunlap in Philadelphia on December 8th, 1942.
Well?
It's a lie.
You're Furman, aren't you?
Oh, yes, but...
That's your picture on the circular, isn't it?
Oh, yes, but I...
Well, Scott, I see you and Wally got Furman, huh?
Oh, hello, George.
You lucky stiffs. Now you two split $1.50 reward. I never seen nothing like it. You know, if it ain't vacations in New York at the city's expense, it's reward dough.
Judge, someday, if you don't remember you're the jailer around here, not the D.A., you're going to be wearing your teeth on the outside of your lips, and I'll be the guys who arrange them that way. Savvy?
Just because you caught a guy who's hot in Philadelphia.
It's a lie. It's a frame-up. You can't prove anything. There's nothing to prove. I never killed anybody. I won't be framed.
Take it
I won't
easy,
be framed.
Furman. Take it easy. You're wasting your breath on us. Save it for the Philadelphia police. We're just holding you for them.
But it's not the police. It's the Transamerica
We
Detective...
turn you over to the Philadelphia police.
Mr. Anderson, Well, then there's nothing I can do now.
There's nothing any of us can do till morning. We'll have to search you now, then we won't bother you any more till they come for you.
But
Wally, you look through his bag. I'll see what he's got in his pockets.
Okay, Scott.
Well, all he's got on him are some business cards, a few letters, $160, a book of checks in the Philadelphia bank, and a few odds and ends. What's with the bag, Wally?
Not much. A couple of changes of clothes, some toilet articles, and... Oh, here's a .38. Loaded. Pretty little thing, isn't it?
Okay, put those things in what I got in the vault. All right, George. You can take Furman now and lock him up.
This is the most ridiculous
Come
thing
along, darling, come on. We ain't had nobody in our little hoosegow for 3 days running. Hey, yeah? You'll have it all to yourself. Just like a suite at the Ritz.
But
Go on, in you go.
I tell you, you're making a mistake. I demand to be allowed to get in touch with my lawyer.
Hey, how about you boys cutting me in on a little of that blood money, huh?
Oh, sure, George, sure. I'll forget all about that 2.5 you've been owing me for 3 months.
Make Furman as comfortable as you can, George. Take good care of him.
He's valuable, huh? Yeah, now, if it was some bum that didn't mean a nickel to you...
George, any day now, I'm going to forget that your uncle is county chairman and throw you back in the gutter just to see how high you'll bounce. Remember that.
Oh, Scott, I didn't mean nothing.
That's all, George. Never mind the rest. I'm going home now. If anything's urgent, I can reach there. But get this. I don't want to be disturbed. Unless it is urgent.
Hello.
Scott, this is Wally.
Yeah, Wally, what time is it?
It's 5 after 6 in the morning, and you'd better come right down, Scott. That fella Furman's hung himself.
What? Furman hung himself?
Yep, by his belt, from a window bar. Deader than a mackerel.
I'll be right in, Wally. Phone Doc Camsley and tell him I'll pick him up on my way down.
No doctor's gonna do Furman any good, Scott.
Well, it won't hurt to have him looked at. You'd better phone the chronic court at Douglasville, too, and file a routine report.
Already did that. And what's more, hold on to your seat. The DA's on his way over, in person.
The DA?
Yeah.
I'll be there before you hang up, Wally.
Come on in, Chief. Ted Carroll, the DA's here, and he's plenty hot under the collar.
What's he burning about?
Oh, he's just mad. Running up quite a phone bill on us, too. Been calling Philadelphia every couple of minutes since he got here. What kept you so long?
I couldn't get my car started. Well, let's go in and see the old buzzard. Oh, Ted?
Listen, Scott, what is all this?
Oh, what?
There's some funny business going on here.
What's funny about it? Man hangs himself. Just another case of suicide.
Sure, it was suicide. But I just telephoned Transamerica. Dug a guy out of bed there. And he said they'd never sent out circulars on Furman. Didn't know about any murder he was wanted for. All they could tell me about him was he used to be a client of theirs.
I don't know what to say, Ted.
I don't either. Oh, a fine chief of police you are. What on earth kept you so long?
Car store. Came as quick as I could. Makes you so crabby, Ted.
Nothing. I guess it's just the district attorney and...
Ah, now, come, gentlemen. Nobody'd know you two are staunch admirers of each other.
Okay, Wally. Tell me, what do you make of it?
Well, there's plenty wrong, Scott. First, that Transamerica thing. They never sent out circulars about Furman. And now, get this. I talked to the Philly police just before you came in. There wasn't even any Paul Frank Dunlap murdered.
There wasn't?
No. What did you get out of Furman before you let him hang himself?
But he was innocent.
Didn't you grill him? Didn't you find out what he was doing in town? Wally, didn't you?
What for? He admitted he was Furman. The description fitted him. The photograph was him. The Transamerica Detective Agency's supposed to be on the level, ain't it? Philadelphia wanted Furman. We didn't.
But Scott...
Why, sure, Ted. If I'd have known he was going to hang himself. Yeah, but then if your aunt wore pants, she'd be your uncle. You said Furman had been a client of Transamerica. They tell you what the job they did for him was?
His wife left him a couple of years ago, and he had them hunting for her for 5 or 6 months. But they never found her. They're sending a man up here tonight to look things over.
Yeah, huh?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going out and grab a quick bite. But I might as well tell you, Scott, there's going to be trouble over this.
I know that, Ted. There usually is when somebody dies in a jail cell.
Well, so what's become of that 1,500 fish now, huh, Scott?
What happened there last night, George?
Nothing. Furman hung himself.
Did you find him?
Uh-huh. Wally took a look in here to see how things was before he went off duty, and he found him.
You're asleep, I suppose.
Well, I was catching a nap, I guess, but everybody does that sometimes, Scott. Even Wally sometimes when he comes in off his beat between rounds. Yeah, but I always wake up when the phone rings or anything.
Oh, sure.
Well, suppose I had been awake. You can't hear a guy hanging himself, can you?
Did Doc Camsley say how long Furman had been dead?
He done it about 5 o'clock, he said he guessed. Oh, you want to look at the remains, Scott? They're over at Fritz's undertaking parlor.
Not now.
Hey, and speaking of Furman, what are you going to tell the guys from Transamerica when they show up here tonight?
Come in.
Oh, they told me I'd find you here. You're Chief Anderson, aren't you?
Yes, that's right.
I'm Coulouris, assistant manager of the Transamerica Detective Agency in Philadelphia. This is Mr. Wheelock, who was Lester Furman's personal attorney.
Glad to know you, Mr. Reesing. How do you do, Mr. Wheelock?
How do you do?
I know you gentlemen are already in possession of most of the details concerning Mr. Furman from the time he arrived in Deerwood until the time of his death. But perhaps you don't know that the police of most towns in our corner of the state have also received copies of this same reward circular. Take a look at it.
Oh. I must say this circular is an excellent forgery.
You're sure it's a forgery, Mr. Reesing?
Oh, yes, there's no doubt about it. But it's an excellent forgery.
Tell me, Mr. Wheelock, was Mr. Furman a native Philadelphian?
Oh, my, yes. He was a well-known, respectable, and prosperous citizen of Philadelphia.
Married, I believe?
In 1934, he married a 22-year-old girl named Ethel Bryan, daughter of a Philadelphia family.
And the Furmans had a child? Isn't that right, Mr. Wheelock?
Yes, born in 1936, but the child lived only a few months. Mr. Furman's wife disappeared after the child's death.
What year was it that she disappeared?
Mr. Reesing should remember that. His agency worked on the matter.
Oh, I remember it well. Mrs. Furman disappeared in 1937. We never heard anything of her again, although Furman spent a lot of money trying to locate her.
What did she look like, Mr. Reesing?
In just a moment. I have a picture of her right here in my briefcase. Here it is. Quite pretty, isn't she?
If you care for that type.
I see what you mean, Mr. Wheelock. Well, she's attractive at that. Judging by this photo, I'd say that she was a small-featured, pretty blonde, with a weak mouth and large, somewhat staring eyes.
Oh, that's an accurate enough description, all right.
If you don't mind, I'd like to have a copy made of that photograph, Mr. Reesing.
Oh, you can keep that one if you like. It's one that we had made up at Transamerica. Her description's on the back.
Thanks. Did Furman ever divorce her?
No, sir. He was a lot in love with her, and he seemed to think that the child's dying made her a little screwy so that she didn't know what she was doing. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Wheelock?
That is my belief, Mr. Reesing.
You said Furman had money, Mr. Wheelock. About how much did he have? And who gets it?
I should say his estate will amount to perhaps $500,000 left in its entirety to his wife.
Mm-hmm. It's quite a handy sum for anyone to have, I'd say. Mr. Wheelock, everything shows that somebody framed Furman into the Dalewood jail. And that frame-up drove him to suicide. But there has to be something else. A lot else.
Well, then, what are you going to do?
I'm going across the street to the undertaking parlor and have a look at Furman. I'll see you later. Hello, Doc.
Hi, Scott. I figured you'd come over here to the undertaker's pretty soon.
What's in your mind, Doc?
Let's get out of this crowd. I want to tell you something.
I just got rid of 2 guards in my office. Let's go back there.
Suits me. 2 of those bruises showed, Scott.
What bruises?
Furman. Well, up under the hair, there were 2 bruises.
Why didn't you tell me?
I'm telling you now, Scott. You weren't here when I made my examination. This is the first time I've seen you since then.
Why didn't you spill the stuff about Furman's bruises when you were testifying at the inquest, Ben?
I'm a friend of yours. Do I want to put you in a spot where people can say you drove this champ to suicide by third-degreeing him too rough?
Ah, you're nuts. How bad was Furman's head?
Well, Scott, that didn't kill him, if that's what you mean. There's nothing the matter with his skull. Just a couple of bruises nobody had noticed, and unless they parted the hair. I thought you ought to know, though.
Well, thanks, Ben. Yes, who is it?
This is Fritz, the undertaker. Listen, Scott, there's a couple of ladies over here that want to take a look at Furman. Is it all right?
Who are they?
I don't know them. Strangers.
What do they want to see him for?
I don't know. Wait a minute.
Can't I please see him?
Why do you want to see him?
Well, I'm his wife.
Furman's wife?
Yes.
Oh, certainly. I'll be right over. So long, Ben. I've got to go back to the undertaker's.
So long, Scott.
Hey, Scott.
What do you want, Wally?
I want to talk to you a minute. Over here where we won't be seen.
Okay, what is it?
A couple of dames came into Fritz's undertaking place just as I was leaving. One of them's Hotchaw Randall, a babe with a record as long as your arm. She's one of that mob you had me working on in New York last summer.
Does she know you?
Sure, but not by my right name. She thinks I'm a Detroit rum runner.
I mean, did she recognize you just now?
I don't think she saw me. Anyway, she didn't give me a tumble.
You don't know the other one?
No, she's a blonde, kind of pretty.
Okay, Wally. Stick around a while, but stay out of sight. Maybe I'll be bringing these dolls back with me.
Whatever you say, Chief.
Oh, there you are, Scott. I wondered when you were coming. This is Mrs. Furman, and this is Mrs. Crowder.
How do you do?
Hiya, Chief.
They just saw the body.
Mrs. Crowder, I thought your name was Randall.
What do you care, Chief? I'm not hurting your town any.
Don't call me Chief. You city slickers, I'm the town whittler.
Thank you for letting me see him.
It's all right, Mrs. Furman. But I'll have to ask you and your friends some questions. So if you'll just come across the street to headquarters, we'll get on with the routine. Before I ask any questions, I want to tell you something. Mrs. Furman, your husband didn't commit suicide. He was murdered.
Murdered? Ah, Chief, we got alibis. We were in New York, and we can prove it.
And you're likely to get a chance to. What brought you down here, anyway?
Murdered? Well, who's got a better right to come down here? She was still his wife, wasn't she? She's got a right to look out for her own interests, hasn't she?
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of something. Excuse me a second. I've got to make a phone call in the next room.
Officer Hamill speaking.
This is Scott.
Yes?
Is Wally around?
No, he's not here. He said you told him to keep out of sight. I'll find him for you, though.
Right. Tell Wally I want him to go to New York tonight. Send Mason home to get some sleep. He'll have to take over Wally's night trick.
Oh,
Mr. Anderson, do you think I had anything to do with with his death?
I don't know, Mrs. Furman. I know he was killed. I also know he left you something like $500,000.
Wow. Dollars?
Dollars.
All right, Chief. Let's stop clowning. The kid here didn't have a thing to do with whatever you think happened.
No?
No. We read about Lester Furman committing suicide in yesterday morning's paper, and about there being something funny about it. And I persuaded her she ought to come down to
Mr.
deal with
Anderson, I wouldn't have done anything to hurt Lester. I left him because I wanted to leave him. I wouldn't have done anything to hurt him for money or anything else. Had I wanted money from him, I would only have had to ask him for it.
That's the truth, Chief. For years I've been telling Ethel she was a chump not to tap him. But she never would.
I wouldn't have hurt him.
Why'd you leave him then?
Oh, I don't know how to say it. The way we lived wasn't the way I wanted to live. I wanted... Oh, I don't know what. Anyway, after the baby died, I couldn't stand it anymore.
Excuse me. Hello? Oh, yeah, Hammer? You gave Wally the message? Yes, I want him to go to New York tonight. Okay, where is he? Home? He is home, huh? Okay, thanks. Mrs. Furman, this circular that got your husband in the jail. Did you ever see that picture before?
No. Why, it can't be. It's a snapshot I have. It's an enlargement of it.
Who else has one?
Nobody that I know of. I don't think anyone else could have one.
You still got yours?
Yes. Don't remember whether I've seen it recently. It's with some old papers and things. But I must have it.
Well, Mrs. Furman, it's stuff like that that's got to be checked up. Neither of us can dodge it. Now, there's two ways we can play it.
Yes?
Mrs. Furman, I can hold you here on suspicion until I've had time to investigate things. Or I can send one of my men with you to check up in New York.
Yes?
I'm willing to do that if you'll speed things up by helping them all you can. If you'll promise you won't try any tricks.
I promise. I'm as anxious as
All
you
right,
are.
all right. How'd you come down?
We drove down. We got a great big car. That's my car, see? That big green job across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my man can ride back with you, but no funny business.
Oh, don't worry, Chief.
Come on. We're going to see Wally Shane, the man who's going to drive to New York with you. Wally?
Who is it?
Scott, Wally.
Come in.
Ladies first.
Harry.
Ethel.
No, you don't. No use reaching with that gun, Wally. Already got you covered.
I guess you win, Scott.
Yeah, I guess I do. Come along back to headquarters with me like a good little boy. Wally, you're under arrest for murder.
I knew it was all up, Scott, the minute I saw those two dames going into Fritz's. Then when I was ducking out of sight, I ran into you, and I was afraid you'd take me over there with you, so I had to tell you one of them knew me. Figured you'd want to keep me under cover for a little while anyhow, long enough for me to get out of town.
Why didn't you get out, Wally?
Well, I dropped in home to pick up a couple of things before I scram, and that phone call of Hamill's catches me, and I fall for it. You see, Scott, I figured you're not on to me yet and are going to send me back to New York to see what dope I can get out of the dames. Well, you fooled me, brother.
I thought you'd fall for that.
Then you didn't just stumble into all this accidentally, did you?
No, I didn't, Wally. I figured Furman had to be murdered by a copper. To know reward circulars well enough to make a good job of forging one. Incidentally, Who printed that Furman circular for you, Wally?
I'm not dragging anyone in with me. It was only a poor mug that needed dough.
Okay, Wally. You see, I knew only a copper would be sure enough of the routine to know how things would be handled. Only one of my coppers would be able to walk into Furman's cell, bang him across the head, and string him up on the... Those bruises showed, you know, Wally.
They did? I guess I should have wrapped 2 towels around that blackjack. No, gee, Scott. I seem to have slipped up on a lot of things.
So that narrows it down to my coppers and... Well, you told me you knew the Randall woman. There it was. Only I figured you were working with him. What got you like this, Wally?
Same thing that gets most saps into jams, a yen for easy dough. And I was in New York, see, Scott, working that Dutton job for you, palling around with big-shot racketeers, passing for one of them, and...
Yes?
Well, I got to figuring that my work takes more brains than theirs, and they're taking in big money, and I'm working for coffee and cakes. That kind of stuff gets you, Scott. Anyway, it got me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I ran into this Ethel Furman, and she goes for me like a house afire. I liked her, too, see, so that's dandy. But one night she tells me about how much dough her husband's got and how he feels about her, and I get to thinking...
Thinking what?
I think she's nuts enough about me to marry me. So I got to thinking, suppose he died and left her his role.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So I run down to Philly a couple of afternoons and look Furman up, and everything looks fine. I took my time working out the details, meanwhile writing to her through a fellow in Detroit.
Go on. Finish one.
Well, I decided to do it. I sent those circulars out to a lot of places, not wanting to point too much to this one. And then when I was ready, I phoned Furman, telling him to come to Deerwood Hotel that night. And sometime before the next night, he'd hear from his wife, Ethel. I knew he'd fall for any trap that was baited with her. Only I guess I'm not as sharp as I thought I was, Scott.
Maybe you are, Wally. Maybe you are. That doesn't always help. Old man Camsley, Ben's father, used to have a saying, to a sharp knife comes a tough steak. Well, sorry you did it, Wally. I always liked you.
I know you did, Scott. I was counting on that.
So ends Dashiell Hammett's 2 Sharp Knives, starring Stewart Erwin. Tonight's story of Suspense. Columbia presents these tales of mystery and intrigue and dangerous adventure for your relaxation and enjoyment. Next week, Suspense will not be heard because of a special holiday broadcast. Columbia's review of the events of the year, 12 crowded months, which has been scheduled. On the following Tuesday, January 5th, there'll be another in this series. Same hour, 9:30 Eastern Wartime. William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, and Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor, are collaborators on Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense. Tonight, Columbia brings you as guest stars 2 deaf players from the movie lots of Hollywood, the stages of Broadway. Miss Elissa Landi and Mr. George Coulouris. They are here to spend with us a half hour of suspense. Suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are stories calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation and then withhold the solution until a last possible moment. Tonight, for instance, Miss Landi plays for us an agreeable young lady who is on the trail of some hot money. And Mr. Coulouris plays for us a disagreeable young man who may or may not know more about the money than he says. We trust that with this tale we shall keep you in suspense.
For Suspense tonight, CBS presents Elissa Landi and George Coulouris in Nothing Up My Sleeve by John Dickson Carr.
Extra, read all about it. Shark Morgan caught. Extra, read all about it. Shark Morgan caught.
It's New Year's Eve, remember? Times Square is celebrating. The fiery lights flash no longer, but the crowds are still the same. Thronging, jostling, singing, drowning out a voice at the street corner when it says,
Fatal gun battle at Jamaica. Read all about it. Fatal gun battle at Jamaica. Read all about it.
But would that cry perhaps reach as far as a large and sedate country house some 20 miles from New York? Out there, the earth is sealed up with snow. The white pillars of the house rise up high and ghostly against it, showing no outward lights. A lonely house, this mansion in Fir Woods.
Just the place for a murder, I've always said.
Wouldn't surprise me either. These Rolfs are a funny lot.
And alone in that house tonight, apparently alone, is a man practicing shots in a billiard room, a long and paneled room at the back of the house. Now, look at Mr. Derek Rolfe, as tall and lean and well-tailored as ever. Many people don't like him. He's a little too supercilious, a little too sure of himself, too suggestive of the lifted lip and the glazed eye. There he stands in the billiard room, under the snow-covered skylight, leaning over the green cloth under brilliant lights when...
Huh? Just a moment, please. Good shot. Yes, come in.
Excuse me, Mr. Rolfe.
Oh, not at all. Hey, wait, aren't you Miss...
I'm Dorothy Dale, your aunt's social secretary. Surely you remember that.
Oh, of course. Forgive me for forgetting your name. You surprised me, Dorothy.
Yes, I thought I surprised you a little.
No, I mean you surprised me by being in the house at all.
Why?
Why? Well, this is New Year's Eve. Shouldn't you be out getting drunk and blowing cardboard horns and doing the other fantastic things that people do?
I haven't much heart for that tonight.
Please, don't become emotional, Dorothy. I detest emotion. If you're shivering, go over by the radiator.
Mr. Rolfe, may I ask you a question?
Of course.
Did you ever feel sick at heart?
Huh?
Physically sick, I mean, so that your insides turned over and you couldn't get your breath and... Did you?
No, I can't say I did. May I move you aside for just a moment? Thank you. Not bad.
Can't you guess why I came here to see you tonight?
No.
Because I'm in terrible trouble, Mr. Rolfe. Desperate trouble. And I think you can help me.
I can help you? How?
For one thing, you're making quite a name for yourself as a lawyer.
Yes, that's what others have told me.
For another thing, do you know a man named Shark Morgan?
Shark Morgan? Shark, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Shark Morgan. No, I'm sure I've never heard that name before.
You ought to know him. He's a little dark-faced man with most of his upper lip cut away in a knife fight so that you can see all his teeth. That's why they call him Shark.
Oh, he sounds like an unpleasant-looking person.
He is, or was, a ghastly-looking person. You don't know him? He's not a client of yours?
No.
I don't believe you.
Just a moment, Miss Dorothy Dale. I must put down this cue and say a few words myself.
Please do.
I don't want to be offensive to you, but it seems to me that for a paid employee of my aunt, practically a servant, you're taking a great deal on yourself.
If you're trying to hurt me that way, you're succeeding.
Go ahead.
You come to me at 11 o'clock at night. You come rushing into this billiard room. Oh, observe, I call it a billiard room, though this is actually a pool table. Just as everything in life gets its wrong name.
I entirely agree.
Yes, but you agree about what?
That everything gets its wrong name. Honest men are called thieves, and thieves are called honest men.
Would you mind explaining that remark to
I
me?
can explain it very easily. I'm engaged to be married to Jerry Winton.
Well?
Don't say you don't know who Jerry Winton is. He was in college with you.
I played on our extremely second-rate baseball team with him, yes.
You never liked him, did you?
Liked him? I'm afraid I never noticed him.
Jerry Winton works at City and Provincial Bank on 51st Street. He's a teller there. Does that mean anything to you?
No. You see, it's not my bank.
I was at the City and Provincial Bank yesterday afternoon. Yesterday afternoon, Mr. Rolfe, just before closing time. It was a dark day and the lights were on. There weren't many people in that big marble hall. I went up to Jerry's window, if that's what you call it. Can you cash a check for $1 million?
Hello, Dolly.
Hello, Jerry. You glad to see me?
I am not pleased to see you here, Dolly. Huh? I'm never pleased to see you here.
And why not?
Because I can't make love to you. Can you imagine anybody making love in a bank?
Oh, we might sneak into the president's office.
As a matter of fact, I've dreamed of holding a party in there. But it'll never happen unless I'm fired, which is very likely.
Jerry, sometimes I wish you weren't so easygoing.
I'm not easygoing with the bank's money, Dolly. Otherwise, I'd be shoving it out to you through the window in double handfuls like this.
Jerry, for heaven's sake, no.
Then state your business, madam. The convict in the next cage is watching us already.
I want to cash a check. Here it is. $20. That is, if my account can stand it.
Yes, I think we can manage that. How'll you have it?
Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. Jerry.
What's wrong?
Look over there.
Where?
Over there by that marble table with the pens and ink on it. The little man with no upper lip to his mouth and all his teeth showing.
Ugly-looking devil, I admit.
He's carrying something like a violin case.
Hold on. I've seen that fellow someplace before.
Of course you have. Don't you remember where?
It
was out at Mr. Rolfe's house in the country when you came to visit me last Sunday. The man with the teeth and 5 other men were coming out on the porch as we were going in.
Wait a minute, Dolly. That's not all.
What is it?
There's some very funny-looking customers in this bank right now.
Where?
At Mr. Wallace's window. At Mr. Robinson's window. And up by the guard at the front door.
They don't seem to make any sound. As though they all wore rubber-soled shoes. Jerry, something's going to happen.
I know it is. Unless I can get off this stool and
That was just to call your attention, folks. Just to call your attention. Now, just stand where you are, all of you. And nobody will get hurt.
Darling, I'm scared. Well, what shall I do?
You
Steady, dear. Just stand still.
Don't dare turn around. Was that the man with the teeth?
Yes, he's got the machine gun.
We don't want any funny business about alarm bells, see? One of the boys has already gone behind to take up the collection. Now just stay where you are. That's all you gotta do.
You can't get away with this.
Oh, look, boys, here's a guy at the front with a nice mahogany desk and a plate with his name on it who says we can't get away with it. Let's show him, huh?
Don't do it, Sean. That wasn't in our orders.
So we can't get away with it.
Oh, he's crazy.
I hear somebody else talking.
Jerry!
Thought I heard somebody over there. Oh, it's you, kid.
Move to one side of the window, Dolly. Move to one side of the window.
Don't worry, kid. I ain't gonna hurt you.
No?
Not a bit of it. Thanks for helping us. You'll get your cut later.
What do you mean, my cut?
That's what I said. You'll get your share when we divvy up.
Well, I don't know anything about this
Don't
robbery.
worry, kid. We'll take care of you.
I tell you, I don't know anything about this robbery.
Jerry!
$6 in the end pocket. Ah, got it.
Are you listening, Mr. Rolfe?
This Shark Morgan must have been quite a fool. I grant you that.
He was a fool. He must have been crazy. But they've held Jerry at police headquarters just the same.
Well, that's very unfortunate if he's innocent.
You know he's innocent.
I'm afraid I don't know anything about it.
Don't you even know what happened today? Haven't you read the newspapers?
No.
The police trapped that whole gang in a Long Island farmhouse. There was a gunfight.
Oh, is that so? Oh, no casualties, I hope.
You hope?
I must tell you again, Dorothy, don't be emotional. I detest emotion.
The whole gang were killed, every last one of them, including Shark Morgan. So there's nobody to talk, nobody to tell. But,
as you were saying?
They didn't find the money.
What money?
The stolen money. $88,000 taken from that bank, and yet the police can't find a cent of it. Shall I tell you why, Mr. Rolfe? Because it was passed on to somebody else for safekeeping.
Oh, passed on to somebody else.
That's what I said.
Well, perhaps your friend Jerry Winton could tell us where it is.
That's what the police think. Oh, can you imagine what he's going through tonight?
Oh, it's not a pleasant way to spend New Year's Eve, I admit. Excuse me. But, after all, the late Shark Morgan did accuse Winton. Now, if he isn't guilty, why should Morgan accuse him?
Meanness.
I don't think I understand.
Meanness. The sort of meanness that some people call a sense of humor. Morgan saw Jerry in this house.
Oh, be careful, young lady. That's an actionable statement.
I've already made it to the police, thanks.
Oh, and did they believe you?
No.
They're a very intelligent crowd down at Center Street. And after all, your story isn't very credible.
Why not?
Well, Shark Morgan sees your friend Winton, sees him for perhaps 10 seconds coming out of this house, and then accuses him of complicity in a bank robbery. Now, is that very likely?
Yes, very likely. If somebody put him up to it.
Again, I don't understand you.
Somebody deliberately told Morgan to accuse Jerry and get him into as much trouble as possible. Tell me, Mr. Rolfe, why do you dislike Jerry so much?
Now that you mention that fellow, I can recall who he is.
Thanks for condescending to.
Yes, indeed. Why, he was the man in our class voted most likely to succeed. Now, let's see. Where did you say he is tonight?
He's just where you put him.
You're trying my patience to the very limit, young woman.
And out in a Long Island farmhouse, there are 5 bodies full of bullet holes. 5 men who'll never speak again. And somewhere else, maybe not very far from here, is the man who engineered the whole robbery. Planned it and staged it and got his accomplices killed.
My goodness, he must have supernatural powers.
No witnesses, nobody to testify. Oh, if I could only find the money.
$88,000, I think you said.
I could only find the money and prove who had done it and prove Jerry innocent and just for 1 second get past that devilish smug mask of yours that's driving me.
Anything wrong, Dorothy?
No. No, nothing at all.
You've been following me round and round this table. Have you been looking at something?
Only admiring your billiard room, that's all.
Oh, you haven't been looking at the suitcase, for instance?
Oh, well, a suitcase?
Look, over on the bench under the cue rack. The suitcase that contains legal papers.
I hadn't even noticed it. Mr. Rolfe?
Yes, Dorothy?
I'm afraid I've taken up a lot of your time and not done myself any good and made something of a spectacle of myself.
Frankly, young woman, you have.
Well, if you won't help me, you won't. And that's that. If you don't mind, I'd like to go now.
I suppose, my dear, I didn't choose to let you go.
But why? Why shouldn't you? What harm can I do?
Now, who was it? Was it Meredith who remarked that the last thing to be civilized by man will be woman? I think it was, yes. And, and a slanderous woman can do a great deal of harm.
But I haven't done you any harm so far.
We're all alone in this house. There's not even a servant here. Now, if I chose to get between you and the door like this...
Keep away from me.
Oh, I'm not coming near you, Dorothy. I'm merely standing between you and the door. Now, I suppose you realize that I could turn very nasty if I like.
What are you going to do?
Do? Well, I'm going to open the door for you like this. I'm going to say, God bless you, my child, as befits a New Year's greeting. I'm going to show you out and wish you good night.
You don't mind?
Mind? Certainly not.
You've got something to hide, haven't you, Mr. Rolfe?
No. Nothing, young woman, that I can't hide. Good night.
Operator.
What number are you calling, please?
Operator, I want to get to police headquarters in New York City. No. That'll take too long. Wait. Get me the local police station. This is Mallingford 8... 891.
The local police station?
Yes, that's right.
The number you want is Mallingford 326. I will ring them.
Thank you. Hurry. Oh, why is he so confident? What has he got up his sleeve?
Mallingford Police Station.
Oh, let me speak to the chief of police, please.
You're speaking to him, ma'am. Nobody else to stay up here on New Year's Eve.
My name is Dale, Miss Dorothy Dale. I'm speaking from Green Acres, Mr. Derek Rolfe's house, about 2 miles up the post road. Do you know it?
Yes, I know it, but can't you talk louder? I can hardly hear you.
I don't dare talk loud. I'm speaking from a phone just outside the billiard room door.
Well, what about it?
Listen, you want to recover the city and provincial bank money, don't you?
We sure do, miss. That money's hot, but...
Well, it's here. It's in this house, in this billiard room now.
Oh, who's got it?
Derek Rolfe himself.
Look, miss, is this on the level?
I swear it's true. I've seen the money.
The Ralphs are prominent people, you know.
I can't help that. There's a big suitcase completely full of money in packages fastened with the paper label of the city and provincial bank. And that's not his own bank.
Take it easy now.
The lid of the suitcase wasn't quite closed. He thought he'd be alone here tonight, and that's why he was careless.
Does he know you saw the money?
Did I see the money? I'm not quite sure.
You're not sure?
No, I could almost have sworn he knew I saw the money, but he didn't seem to care. Be careful. The billiard room door's opening.
Thought I heard someone using the telephone out here.
Excuse me, Mr. Rolfe. I only...
What's this about the door open?
No, these doors are rather thick, Dorothy, but I was under the impression that I heard somebody say police.
Yes. Well, yes, you did.
You weren't phoning the police by any chance, were you?
Yes, I was.
But why? Go on. Why?
As a matter of fact, I was trying to get in touch with Jerry. That's it. He's at police headquarters in New York, and I was trying to get in touch with him to see if they'd let me talk to him on New Year's Eve. You know, I thought it would cheer him up.
Look, miss, this is the Mallingford chief of police. Are you still there?
What's that? What's Mallingford?
Well, it's a New York call relayed through the local station. You don't mind?
Not at all. Please go right ahead. Oh, by the way.
What?
I don't think you will find that money, young woman. Good night.
Listen, miss, are you still on the end of the wire, or aren't you?
Yes, but I couldn't talk to you. He was here.
Who was there?
Derek Rolfe. He said I'd never find the money.
You mean he admits he's got it?
Well, no. He just smiles and smiles. He's got some trick up his sleeve. I know it.
Oh, it'll have to be a good one.
Please never mind that. Can you come over now?
Oh, all right, miss. I'll take a chance. Who else is in the house with you?
Nobody. I'm all alone with him.
What are you going to do if he tries to light out with the money?
I don't see what I can do. That's all the more reason for you to get here quickly. I swear you'll find the money in that billiard room. Only hurry.
5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. It can seem a very long time to a waiting girl crouching in a cold and dim-lit hallway outside a closed door, hearing only the clicking of billiard balls and watching, wondering, and praying until...
Miss Dale. Miss Dale.
This way. Shh.
Miss Dale, I'm Joe Hollister, chief of police.
Yes, I recognized your voice.
The front door wasn't locked, so I just walked in.
I hoped you would. I didn't want to leave here.
Has Mr. Rolfe come out of that room since you talked to me?
No.
And according to what you claim, he's still in there with a suitcase full of money.
That's right, Mr. Hollister.
Now, look, miss, before we go any further, there's something I ought to tell you.
Well?
Well, I checked with New York about you.
And what did they say?
Yes, Miss Hollister. And what did they say about her?
Mr. Rolfe!
I'm rather interested in knowing that myself.
So you could hear everything through that door?
Of course I could hear everything through the door, including your conversation with our friend, the chief of police. Good evening, Mr. Hollister.
Good evening, Mr. Rolfe. This young lady says that...
I know what she says. Will you come into the billiard room, please? Both of you?
Oh.
Thank you.
Just what trick are you up to now?
Trick? You talk of tricks.
Now, just a minute now. Take it easy.
What I want to know is where's this suitcase Miss Dale was talking about?
There it is.
What, you mean that empty suitcase on the bench beside you?
Empty suitcase?
Yes, that's what I said.
It wasn't empty when I left this room.
Chief, do you mind seeing for yourself?
Well, it isn't empty. It's empty now, miss.
Hollister, it would gratify me to clear this matter up here and now.
It'll gratify me, too.
I'm tired of this slanderous nonsense, and I mean to end it. This young woman told you that I had, what was it? Some $88,000 in this room only a few minutes ago.
I still say you had.
Curb your temper, please, while I ask you some straight questions. Can you do that?
You better answer him, miss.
All right, I'll try.
Did I or did I not leave the billiard room at any time?
No, you didn't.
Good. Well, there's only one door and no window. Only a skylight covered with snow. So I didn't leave that way, did I?
No, I suppose you didn't.
Therefore, unless you're lying, the money must still be in this room.
Yes.
Then where is it?
I don't know. You must have hidden it someplace.
Where?
I'm afraid Mr. Rouse right, miss.
Take a look around you. One pool table. Comes apart so you can examine it. One radio. Go on, examine that, too. One overhead light, one standing lamp, one bare bench, one rack of cues, one rack of pool balls. Now, that's everything. Now, can you tell me where I could hide enough money to fill a suitcase?
No, I can't.
It's impossible, miss. The stuff's not here.
It must be here. It's either here or else.
Or else what?
Or else it vanished.
Oh, Mr. Hollister, haven't we had quite enough of this?
Yes, I guess we have. Now, look here, Miss Dale. I like the way you talked, and I thought you were talking straight. Will you just tell me why you tried to string me along like that?
You know, I think I can tell you, Chief Hollister.
I wasn't exactly asking you, Mr. Ralph, but... Well, go ahead.
You know, perhaps, that she's engaged to a man who's mixed up in the city and provincial robbery.
He was not.
It was neither a very clever nor a very far-sighted attempt. I'm inclined to think that she'll not have a job when my aunt returns. But as I say, it was a case of any old attempt to shield Jerry Winton.
Did somebody mention my name?
Jerry! Oh, Jerry.
Kid, steady. I'm alive. I'm not a ghost. You needn't dive at me like
But
that.
how did you get here? How did you get away?
I was trying to tell you, miss, when our host butted in. The DA is convinced your young man had nothing to do with this.
That's right, Dolly. And I thought I'd better come out and take you back to New York with me.
I was never so glad to see anybody in my life. Put your arms around me.
I don't suppose you'd mind if I picked up this cue and went on practicing. Let's try the 8-ball all the way down the table.
Come on, Dolly. It'll be New Year's in a few minutes. There's nothing to worry about.
There is something to worry about. He's got the money, the whole $88,000. I know it. I'm sure of it. Only we can't find it. It's hidden somewhere in this room.
As I said before, haven't we had just about enough of this?
The chief of police there won't believe me, but it's true.
I've heard a lot about that money myself.
I'll bet you have, son.
It's been nothing but hot money, hot money, hot money, and where is it, where is it, where is it, until I thought I was going off my nut. If I could prove Derek Rolfe had anything to do with this, I'd... Dolly, what's the matter?
Mr. Hollister.
Yes, miss?
I think I know now where he's hidden the money.
Well, that was a bad shot, Mr. Ralph. You've made the white ball jump clear off the table.
Well, there are plenty of others on the table.
I tell you, I know where he's hidden it.
Is it in this room?
Yes.
But where? In the pool table? In the radio? In some secret panel?
No.
You'd better speak up, Dolly.
Has it ever struck you, any of you, that there is such a thing as an invisible piece of furniture?
An invisible piece of furniture? You mean we can't see it?
No, it's in plain sight. It's smack in front of your eyes. But nobody ever sees it. You can't see it now.
We may not understand you, Dolly, but by George, Derek Rolfe does. Look at his face.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
What's the matter with all of you?
Please don't become emotional, Mr. Rolfe. I detest emotion.
Miss, there's a reward of $10,000 for the recovery of that money. If you know where it is, tell us.
There's nothing easier.
Before that young woman says something she may regret, please listen to me.
You've got him, Dolly. I don't know how or why, but you've got him.
Go on, Mr. Ralph.
Tell me, Winton, you and I used to play on the same baseball team, didn't we?
That's right. What about it?
What did I play on that team?
You were the pitcher. Why?
Was I good?
You're the best control and the best fast one I ever... Wait a minute. Why are you picking up that pool ball?
What are you going to do? Take it easy, Mr. Ralph.
You three are across the room from me. I have a number of rather dangerous objects on the table here, and I'll split that girl's skull if she says another word.
Don't be a blasted
fool. Think I can't do it? Well, does that convince you I haven't lost my pitching arm? You didn't even get a chance to raise that gun. No, you don't. Don't try to pick it up. Just let it lie there on the floor.
Get behind me, Dolly.
You stay where you are. Move a step off first base and...
Maybe you'd better listen to him, Miss Dale. Well, what are you going to do, Ralph? You can't keep us here forever.
I don't propose to keep you there forever. I'm not so enamored of your company.
Now, what's the game?
Well, I'll make a bargain with you.
Well?
My car's outside, with a little more gas than the state allows. Give me 1 clear hour to get away. Well, what do you say?
I'm a cop, Mr. Ralph. I can't make any bargains with you.
No?
No, and I'm coming over there after you.
And you'll compel me to start throwing.
Down, Dolly, down under the table.
Oh, you missed that one, Mr. Ralph.
I'll not miss with this one.
It's a shame to bust that T-Rack, Mr. Ralph, but I'm still coming for you.
You've lost your control, old son. You're done for.
I tried this.
That was the wildest pitch yet.
Dolly, look. Don't get up, but look.
What is it?
The radiator. The steam radiator. It's knocked the whole thing sideways. Did you ever see that happen to a radiator before?
Of course not, because it's a dummy radiator.
Dummy radiator?
Yeah, I got you, Ralph. I'm not too old to handle a bird like you.
You haven't even got a search warrant.
I'll take a chance. Well, what was that about? A dummy radiator?
Yes. Look. Look here. It's got a little oil burner inside to make it give out heat.
Yeah?
And there are hinges at the back to form a lot of compartments where you can hide as much money as you like.
I saw the hinges when he told me to go over to the radiator, but I didn't guess what they meant. It's really a safe that never attracts attention because nobody ever notices it.
And the stuff's here, all right.
There, Mr. Hollister. That's what I saw in the suitcase.
I told you there was a $10,000 reward for that, miss.
Oh, did you hear that? Turn on the radio, Jerry. Go on, turn it on. Welcome in the new year. Didn't you tell me, all of you, that the money was hot?
Nothing Up My Sleeve, starring Elissa Landi and George Coulouris. Tonight's story of Suspense. Columbia presents these tales of mystery and intrigue and dangerous adventure for your relaxation and enjoyment. Next Tuesday, there'll be another in this series. Same hour, 9:30 Eastern Wartime. William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, Bernard Herrmann, the composer, conductor, and John Dickson Carr, the author, are collaborators on Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Another 5-minute mystery. In a hospital on the east side, a dying patient gives a last expiring gasp. He's gone. Slipped through my fingers like water running through a sieve.
It's not your fault, Dr. Grant. You've done everything you could. The hospital's certainly not failed.
Nurse, this man should never have died. Something's wrong. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure that James Towner here did not die of the ailment he came to this hospital for. Nurse, I'm going to get permission to perform an autopsy.
hunch was right, Dr. Grant.
What is it? Tell me, Jones.
When we tested Towner's blood in the lab, a foreign substance showed up immediately. I didn't recognize it, but one of my assistants seemed to think he knew what it was. So I let him make tests. A rare poison used only by the South American Indians was introduced into the bloodstream of the victim. It killed him, all right.
But that's impossible, Dr. Grant.
Jones, did your man say whether this poison could have been taken through food or...
I thought of that, too. He swears it is the only effective way when it is taken directly into the bloodstream.
And is there any antidote?
Not known. My man says the Indians obtain a certain immunity by injecting themselves with small amounts over a long period of time.
How could that poison have gotten into Towner's bloodstream?
Doctor, I was with the patient every minute he was here. I could swear he had nothing intravenous during the whole time except the transfusions. 2 of them, which you ordered yourself.
The transfusions? Who was the donor?
Mr. Harkness, a friend of Towner's, happened to be visiting him. The friend immediately offered him blood. Towner was grateful and accepted. Harkness said something about its being the least he could do. We tested his blood and found it the right type, so we did the transfusion.
I think we ought to investigate Harkness.
But, Dr. Grant, I'm positive that Mr. Harkness did not even touch Mr. Towner during the whole time of his illness.
If what I'm thinking is true, Harkness had something to do with the death of James Towner just the same.
Well, we were certainly lucky, Doctor. There's no question about it. Harkness is your man.
I knew it. I've had Harkness investigated by the police. He's mentioned in Towner's will, gets the whole estate. The police have searched his apartment and found just what I expected. I feel my medical judgment has been vindicated, Jonesy.
You're right, Doctor. We're going to have this man Harkness arrested for the murder of James Towner.
Do you know what the doctor and the laboratory technician discovered which indicated to them that Harkness murdered his friend Towner? The doctor will tell you in a moment. But first...
Suspense. This is your narrator, the man in black, again about to introduce tonight's Columbia program, Suspense. The story is The Pit and the Pendulum by Edgar Allen Poe, the adaptation by John Dickson Carr. Our guest is the distinguished American actor, Mr. Henry Hull, who plays the part of a prisoner of the Spanish Inquisition. If you've been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that Suspense is compounded of mystery, suspicion, and dangerous adventure, to hold you in a precarious situation and withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so it is with The Pit and the Pendulum and Mr. Hull's performance. We again hope to keep you in suspense. And now, The Pit and the Pendulum.
I was sick unto death with that long agony. And when at length they unbound me and I was permitted to sit, I felt that my senses were leaving me. The sound of the inquisitorial voices seemed merged in one dreamy, indeterminate hum. Yet, for a while, I saw, but without terrible an exaggeration, I saw the soft and nearly imperceptible waving of the sable draperies on the walls of the room. I saw the flames of the 7 tall candles which burned on the table. I saw the lips of the black-hooded judges, and these lips appeared to me white as paper, white as horror. I saw them writhe with a deadly locution. I saw them fashion the syllables of my name.
Jean Delbray, Captain Jean Delbray.
Good fathers, gentlemen.
We hear you, my son.
I am very weak and infirm. I've been confined for many months in a dungeon. I've been tormented by nightmares.
Conscience, one trusts. Pray silence, Fra Antonio.
Even now, I have no knowledge of where I am or to whom I may be speaking.
You are speaking to me, my son. I am Fra Pedro de Espela, prior of the Dominicans of Segovia and Grand Inquisitor of all Spain.
Is this the court of the Inquisition?
It is.
Oh, then God help me.
He will help you, my son, if you trust him.
But I am a French officer.
That is true. A soldier and creature of the arch-fiend Napoleon Bonaparte.
But a French officer nonetheless. A prisoner of war. By what right do you try me in this court?
Let the clerk read the charges against this prisoner. Pray silence while the clerk reads the charges.
The charges against the prisoner are as follows. Imprimis, that he is one Jean d'Albret, a captain of artillery in the army of Bonaparte, so-called Emperor of the French.
This means nothing, as the prisoner says. It is no crime. Proceed.
Item, that on the 4th day of September in the year of our Lord 1808, that said Jean d'Albret did wed, espouse, and marry the most noble lady, the Doña Beatrice Valdez, niece of and ward of the illustrious...
One moment.
Your Excellency spoke.
Antonio, was any cheat employed to trap this girl into marriage against her will?
No, we have no actual evidence of any cheat.
Was the girl of age?
I believe so.
Then wherefore is the prisoner here? This marriage was a deplorable thing, if you like. Bonaparte himself is almost at the gates of Madrid. His general, the Tsar, menaces our city of Toledo itself. But lawful marriage, however regrettable, is no sin or crime.
There are other matters in the indictment, I think.
Then continue, but give us nothing that is not material.
Item, that on the 12th of October, 1808, the said Jean d'Albret, being in command of a 5-gun battery of light artillery, did direct the fire of his guns against the holy church of St. Martha the Innocent.
What?
And thereby of his wicked malice destroyed that church utterly.
Captain d'Albret, is this charge true?
It is, yes.
You admit it?
Good father, hear what I have to say. The church blew up, I think.
Would you boast of your sin, young man?
It blew up because it was stored with kegs of gunpowder for your army. I had every right to fire on it.
And that is all the defense you have to make?
I tell you, I had every right to fire on it. By military law, there was...
Is military law above God's law?
I don't know. I did my duty, that's all. Long live the Emperor!
Captain d'Albret, mark what I say. No man, however great his heresy, is ever condemned to be burnt in the fire.
Fire?
Fire.
If he first recant and acknowledge the error of his ways. But for you, Jean d'Albret, there can be no mercy, no pity, no atonement. The only sentence of this court can be death.
Death.
Yes. The secular or government arm to which we must release you has devised 2 ways of punishment in cases such as yours. You hear the tolling of the bell?
I hear them.
It is the procession of the condemned going to the auto da fe.
Soon the yellow light of the flames will stream through the windows and flicker on floor and ceiling.
Nunc et in hora mortis intuit manibus Domine. Most of those condemned out of mercy will be strangled before they are burned. It cannot be so with you, Jean d'Albret. You must die in one of 2 ways. Either with the direst of physical agony.
A slow fire of green wood, iced bandages about the head and the heart, so that the fire does not approach too quickly.
Or else, Jean d'Albret, you must die in a certain other way.
I'm done with this. Pass your sentence and let me go.
The law does not permit me to tell you now what this other way is. The sentence of this court, therefore.
I had swooned. Yet still, I will not say that all of consciousness was lost. In the deepest slumber, no. In delirium, no. In a swoon, no. In death, no. Even in the grave, all is not lost. There are shadows of memory which tell us indistinctly of tall figures that lifted me and bore me in silence down, still down, until a hideous dizziness oppressed me at that descent into the earth. Then, as consciousness swam back to my wits, darkness, a stone floor, and darkness. Oh, Beatrice. Beatrice, my wife, Beatrice.
Did you call me, Jean?
Beatrice, was that you who spoke?
Yes, Jean.
You were here in the dungeons of the Inquisition.
I am not really speaking to you, my poor Jean. I am only in your imagination.
Am I mad, then?
No. But your brain is fevered. You only think you hear me.
No, I do. I hear you clearly. As clearly as I once heard you.
In the little church near the Ebro where we were married.
Yes. I destroyed that church, Beatrice. I had to. It was my commanding officer's order.
I know, Jean. Be comforted. There are those who care.
You won't leave me.
As long as I am in your heart, I shall be here.
I was strong once. Now I am weak. Once I was reckless. Now I'm afraid. What am I, Beatrice? What are they going to do to me?
I cannot tell. Remember, my voice comes only from your own brain. Are you fettered?
Fettered? No.
They've not chained you to the wall.
No. They've taken away my uniform. They've given me sandals and a robe of what feels like coarse serge, but I'm still free. Free.
Take courage, Jean.
Free. And in the grasp of the Inquisition. Beatrice.
Yes, Jean.
It's completely dark. There's hardly any air. I dread to get up. I dread to stretch out my hand. Suppose they've buried me alive.
Courage. Can you stand up?
I think so, yes.
Then walk. Walk as far as you can. Measure the limit of the cell. If this is not a tomb...
You're right, Beatrice, as always. I'll try.
Are you on your feet?
Yes, now pray. Pray for a poor devil who always meant well. 1 pace, 2 paces, 3, 4.
You are very weak, Jean. Rest a moment.
Where are you now, Beatrice? In the flesh, I mean.
You know that, Jean. In the old house by the olive grove. Scorned of my people.
Yes, I know it.
Each morning I climb to the hilltop and watch.
Go on.
Sometimes I think I hear gun wheels
Yes.
rumble in the hills.
Yes.
And long moving columns
Yes.
with the red dust rising about
Go
them.
on.
First come the heavy cavalry in plume-crested helmets.
Yes.
On their flanks wheeling like hawks, light hussars in blue and scarlet. And behind them, in a glitter of bayonets as vast as light points on the sea.
Yes.
Rank upon
Yes.
rank. The long gray coats and the tall bearskin caps.
The old guard and the Grand Army.
It is only a vision, my dear one. They do not come.
Will they? Will they ever come, Beatrice?
I cannot tell.
Then I must face what has been prepared for me.
Walk again, Jean. Try. Keep your hand in front of you.
This rope, it impedes me, and the floor is treacherous with slime. But I'll try. 4 paces. 5, 6, 7.
It can't be a tomb.
8, 9.
Look out!
I'm all right. I fell to my knees. The rope tripped me. My hand is in front of me. It's lower than my face, but I feel nothing.
Nothing, Jean.
It's a pit. A circular pit. And I fell on the very edge of it.
Oh. They would have made you walk into it.
Yes. Oh, there's a loose fragment of rock just inside the edge. Now, if I can dislodge it like this.
Water.
There's something down there.
Rats, it may be.
Rats, yes, but something else. I heard it move.
So did I. What is in the pit, Jean?
I don't know.
But you're saved.
Saved, Beatrice. Saved from the Inquisition. My torture has been merely postponed. At last, a deep sleep fell upon me. Sleep like that of death. How long it lasted, I know not. But when I opened my eyes once again, I could see. Yes, see. My prison was large and lofty. Its walls formed of massive iron plates, bolted or joined together. A wild, sulphurous luster, I could not trace its origin, lit up the dungeon, and the circular pit, and the crudely daubed skeleton figures painted in evil colors on the iron walls. Skeleton figures, demon figures, gargoyle figures. Their colors a little blurred, as from the effects of the damp.
It must approach you slowly and force itself into your mind.
It must stalk you like a tiger.
It must bring you face to face, at last, with the King of Terrors. When I regained consciousness, I lay on my back and at full length on a low framework of wood. To this framework, I was securely bound by a long fastening resembling a surgical bandage. Bound? But why? Why? The bandage passed round and round my body, leaving at liberty only my head and my left arm. With much exertion, I could supply myself with food from an earthen dish on the floor beside me. It was meat, highly seasoned, but there was no water. Beatrice! Beatrice, where are you?
Here, Jean, as always.
Your voice sounds stronger.
Does it, Jean?
And I can see you now. I can see you as clearly as I saw you months ago.
How I wish it were true.
Your bonnet and the parasol you carried in summer, and the high-waisted blue dress.
You are weaker, my dear, and more fevered.
Have I been asleep?
Yes, Jean.
They must have been here while I slept. They bound me. Why? Stop those voices! Stop them!
Mine too, Jean. I am not here either, you know. Don't drive me away.
Beatrice, look.
Where?
At the ceiling of this room, 30, 40 feet up, what do you see?
I see painted on the ceiling a figure of Father Time.
Anything else?
But Father Time carries no sign.
No.
He carries instead what looks like a gigantic pendulum from an ancient clock.
About one thing, I swear I'm in my right senses. I saw that pendulum move.
A painting cannot move.
Yet I swear the pendulum did move. It swung a little back and forth, just like a real pendulum.
Try not to trouble your brain.
That pendulum is real. Beatrice, take care.
Take care of what? You're not looking at the pendulum now.
Take care of the rats from the pit.
I see them.
They're swarming out in dozens. You can see their eyes glitter. One of them ran across the hem of your dress.
Did it, Jean?
What did they want?
They caught the scent of the meat in the dish beside you.
But they'll not get it. Go away, you vermin!
Move your hand above the plate, Jean. Move.
Beatrice, where are you going? I can hardly hear you.
You are sending me away, Jean.
I sending you away?
My poor loved one. You can't bear to see the rats running about my feet.
Beatrice! Beatrice! Yes, it's true. In a cell swarming with vermin. There are others I had rather see here. I'd rather see.
Did you call me, Captain Dalbray? Then in spirit, I am here.
Who are you?
Don't you recognize me?
No, I do not.
I am that second Inquisitor, Fra Antonio, whom you thought unfair at your trial. But we were not unfair. We administer the law. That is all.
Go. I command you, go.
Not until I have first told you what you already guessed.
Which is?
There are two forms of death for such as you. One, death with its direst physical torture. The other, death with its direst mental torture.
And I have been condemned to the second?
Your guess is good. Listen. Do you hear anything?
Yes, I do. I hear something.
Turn your eyes upwards.
Yes.
Look at the ceiling.
The pendulum.
Aye, the pendulum.
It's descended.
Only a foot or so as yet. As you notice, it is not really a pendulum. Its underside is a crescent, formed of razor-sharp steel.
You mean?
A ponderous weight, Captain Dalbray. Its movement is slow now, but soon it will take on momentum. It will swing wider and wider, 30 feet perhaps. Presently, as it swings, you will hear it hiss, and with each broad movement, it will creep a trifle lower.
The steel is directly above me.
Yes, above the region of your heart. Lie still and look up at it.
How long before?
You need have no immediate fear. It will not be too soon.
But how soon?
Who can tell?
In the name of pity, give me some answer.
Hours, perhaps days.
It's beginning to swing wider. I can't take my eyes from it.
Its glitter fascinates you, eh? See how it shines in that wild light.
And this is your utmost refinement in cruelty.
The law, Captain Dalbray, is never cruel. And now, still in spirit, I leave you to your meditations. It will not be too soon. Minutes, hours, days.
Down, steadily down it crept. Days passed. It might have been many days before it swept so closely as to fan me with its morbid breath. Minutes, hours, days. The odor of the sharp steel forced itself into my nostrils. The right, to the left, far and wide. The shriek of a damned spirit. To my heart, with the stealthy pace of a tiger. Down. Certainly, relentlessly down. I prayed. I wearied heaven with my prayer for its more speedy descent. I grew frantically mad and struggled to force myself up against that swinging, glittering death. Of no avail. Down, still unceasingly, still inevitably down, the sharp steel flashed past within 3 inches of my chest. Beatrice!
John?
Beatrice, Beatrice, where are you?
I heard you calling, John. I am here.
It is a strange thing, Beatrice. I'm quite calm.
You are resigned, then?
No, that is the strange thing. Even now, I am not resigned.
Is there a way out?
How can there be? 10, 12 more vibrations, and will fray the surge of my robe. Only lightly as a razor in a delicate hand. There will be many sweeps before it bites deep. No, I can't escape it.
You kept me away from you, John. You locked me out of your thoughts. If I am here only in your thoughts, why should I fear the rats?
The rats!
You open your eyes and your eyes blaze. What is it?
The rats! Do they still swarm here?
Across the floor and over the meat platter. They have taken nearly all your food.
Yes, of course, they're ravenous, and they have sharp teeth.
Well...
The meat is oily and spiced. If I take what remains of it, scatter, you vermin! And rub that meat on the bandages that hold me here.
Try it, John, try.
It may be too late. If I leave my body a fraction of an inch up.
Try it, I tell you, try.
Ah, but look, they scatter as soon as I do try.
But they are watching you. I can see their eyes glitter. They're creeping back.
Can I stand the rats crawling across me? Can the flesh bear it?
One of them has leaped on the wooden framework. Another follows. They're gnawing at the bandage.
7, 8 more sweeps of the pendulum.
The bandage, give way.
A little.
Lie still, Jean, lie still.
10, 12, a dozen rats now. Is death, I wonder, worse than this disgust?
A dozen sharp knives could do no better. The bandage is loosened to ribbons. Now, if you move sideways, carefully, and drop to the floor.
Beatrice, I can't move. My arms and my legs are numb. There is no power.
The steel has frayed your robe. A minute more will be too late. Try.
Then, with all the strength that is in me, and all the hate that I bear my enemies... Free! A second time! Free!
Jean. The pendulum stops. They are drawing it back up through the roof.
Each move I make is watched. You never doubted.
Yet with all they could do to you, they have failed twice.
They will not fail. No more dallying with the king of terrors.
What else can they do?
I can't say. See how the rats gnaw in silence at that bandage. To what food, I wonder?
But you escaped the pit.
I escaped it once. Listen.
What do you hear?
A groaning. It's a grinding as of metal.
It was only the cog wheels of the pendulum.
I think not, Beatrice.
Why not?
It seemed to come from behind those iron-plated walls. It seems to shake the dungeon as a mill wheel might shake it.
Stand up, my poor Jean. Get up off your knees.
I can't, Beatrice. I can't endure anymore.
The paintings on the walls of this dungeon, the skeletons and imps and devils, they seem different.
They are different. The colors sharpen and grow bright. The demon's eyes glare. The skeleton hands outstretch. Don't you catch even yet the odor of heated iron?
Heated iron?
Beatrice, my darling, I have been much humbled. But I won't have you see me in tears. I order you to go.
Jean, in the name of heaven.
Beatrice.
You're sending me away.
Yes,
Jean.
in the name of heaven. Go. A suffocating heat pervaded the prison. A deeper glow settled in the painted eyes that glared at me. I could draw no breath of air into my lungs. Against the loom of that fiery destruction, the thought of the pit and its coolness come like a soothing balm. I staggered to the edge of the pit. I looked into it. The enkindled walls and roof lighted it to its depths. Yet for one wild moment, even then, I refused to believe the horror of what I saw beneath me.
Does the pit please you, Captain Dalbray?
Not the pit! Merciful God, anything but that!
And how shall you avoid it? Look.
This dungeon has changed its shape.
That is true. The walls are closing in. It was formerly a square. Now it is flattening
slowly toward the center to force me into the pit.
Of course.
It'll force you along with me.
Again, apparently you must be told, Captain Dalbray, that you are speaking only to your own sick fancy. I am not here at all. Farewell.
And now closer and closer through the red burning walls, forcing me into the pit with a swiftness that left me no time for thought. I shrank back, but the closing walls pressed me relentlessly onward. At length, for my seared and writhing body, there was no longer an inch of foothold. I screamed once. I tottered on the edge of the pit. The walls rushed back. An outstretched arm caught my own as I was about to fall fainting into the abyss. It was that of General Lassalle. The French army had entered Toledo. The Inquisition was in the hands of its enemies.
Vive la France!
And so closes Poe's celebrated story, The Pit and the Pendulum, starring Henry Hull. We invite you to another adventure of suspense next Tuesday at the same hour. Until then, this is the Man in Black saying good night.
William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor, and John Dickson Carr, the author, are collaborators on
Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
And now, back to our story.
Well, Doctor, what have you found?
The thing that indicated to me the fact that Harkness had a hand in the murder of James Towner was something Jones said when he spoke of the poison, and the way the South American Indians gained immunity from it. I deduced that probably, against the chance that his so-called friend would need a transfusion, Harkness had so immunized himself over a period of time. If he had, the poison would still be in his blood in some quantity, small perhaps, but enough to react unfavorably on Towner in his condition. A police search verified my hunch. And now, Harkness is being tried for one of the most unusual murders that has ever come to my attention.
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our star tonight is Peter Lorre, playing the part of the Hungarian Count Stefan Kahari, a gentleman of sinister aspect. The story is by John Dickson Carr, who calls it The Devil's Saint. If you have been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are tales calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution till the last possible moment. And so, it is with The Devil's Saint and Mr. Peter Lorre's performance we again hope to keep you in suspense. The Devil's Saint. Paris, 15 years ago. Paris as it used to be, when lights twinkled from the old Trocadero to the hill of Sacré-Cœur, when taxicabs honked and the beat of tangos swayed, and Chinese lanterns gleamed above the lake in the Bois, when, in short, you and I were young. Come then to the President's Ball at the Opera, St. Catherine's Day, 1927. A fancy dress ball at the Opera, filling these marble halls with a multitude of masks and a multitude of dreams. The mosaic decorations are no less bright than the colors that weave here. Harlequins and Columbine, Cleopatra and Musketeers. In the great marble foyer, remember it? They have set out little tables and lines of palms behind which you may sit screened. Look at one such table. A young man wearing the scarlet and gold uniform of an English Guards officer in Wellington's day. A dark-haired young girl in the costume of a bacchante. And as we approach...
Ned, don't, please, you mustn't.
Why not? You really don't mind, do you?
No, of course I don't mind, only you mustn't. Oh, Ned.
Look here, Ilona. We've got to settle this thing. You have enjoyed being here tonight, haven't you?
Ned, I've loved it. After being cooped up at my uncle's place in the country, it's like heaven.
All right. When I take you back to the hotel, I'm going to face this uncle of yours tonight.
No, please don't.
I'm going to say that you and I intend to get married, and that's that.
I can't marry you, Ned. I've told you that.
But why not? Just give me one good reason.
Because I can't. My uncle, he would never allow it. Never.
And that seems to you a good reason enough?
Yes, Ned.
This uncle of yours, what's his name?
Count Stefan Coulouris.
He's a Hungarian, I think you said.
Yes, so am I. My mother was an American.
What's he like, actually?
Oh, he's a little eccentric. Oh, please don't misunderstand. He's a great scholar and a historian, only he's a little strange. Ned.
What is it?
There he is now.
Your uncle?
Yes, that elegant man in plain evening clothes, with the Order of the Golden Fleece across his chest.
Oh, I see him. Oh, he looks as black as a thundercloud.
He's throwing those two dressed as devils aside as though they didn't exist. Give me my mask quick before he sees us.
No, Ilona.
Why not?
We'd better face this out now. Sit still.
Good evening, Ilona.
Good evening, Uncle Stefan. Uncle, may I present Edward Whiteford?
How do you do, sir?
How do you do? Ilona, do you think that costume is quite the thing to wear in public?
Why not?
Well, an older generation might call it immodest. It looks like...
Like what?
Nothing. Will you go and get your cloak or your domino or whatever you wore here?
Uncle, please don't make me go home so soon. It's hardly 11 o'clock.
I was not asking you to go home, my dear. I was merely asking you to put on a wrap.
All right, I'll get it. You stay and talk to Ned.
I shall be delighted.
Will you sit down, sir?
Thank you. You seem to have quite a gathering at this table.
Oh, yes. Some friends of mine from the embassy. They're upstairs dancing now.
Well, look, glasses, and still more glasses. You know, I was quite an adept once at musical gases. Have you ever tried it, young man? Well, it's very easy. You take a spoon like this, you see, and... Like it?
Well, forgive me, sir, but there's something I'd like to ask you.
Yes?
I don't know exactly how to say this, so I'd better say it in the shortest way. I want to marry your niece. Well, look out, sir. You smashed one of the glasses.
A few francs will pay for that. But there are other things of higher value. At least to me.
Well, maybe I ought to mention first that my full name is Lord Edward Whiteford. My father's the Earl of Grey.
Indeed.
Well, I only mention that to show we're, well, respectable enough. Well, the British ambassador will vouch for me, sir, if you'd like to ring him up.
And perhaps I ought to mention that I've always kept Ilona carefully guarded from the world.
Almost too carefully guarded, don't you think?
That, Lord Edward, depends on my reasons.
Sorry, sir.
You have known Ilona about how long?
4 days.
4 days. You wouldn't even choose a business partner in 4 days. Yet to want to marry my Ilona after 4 days.
But we know our own minds, sir.
You do, huh? Then you know more than the wisest man in this world. However, as one whose dearest wish is Ilona's happiness,
I hope it is, Count Coulouris.
Do you doubt what I say?
Oh, no, sir.
Well, I will make you a proposition. I own an estate in Touraine, not far from Paris. A little chateau, a few hundred acres, fishing. Very good stable of horses.
I know. Lona told me.
Oh, she did? Well, then here is my suggestion. Why not come down and visit us for a week or two?
Why, that's very decent of you, sir.
Oh, not at all, not at all. And if at the end of that time you're not cured of this infatuation...
Oh, it's not an infatuation. I swear it's not.
No? Well, if at the end of that time you're not cured permanently of this feeling, you may take Ilona. And with my blessing. That's fair, isn't it?
Oh, it's more than fair, Uncle Harry. I don't know how to thank you.
Oh, well, please, don't even try. And at least I can promise you a very interesting experience. You see, at the Chateau d'Azay, there is one certain bedroom. We call it the tapestry room.
Yes?
Well, I assure you, it'll be very interesting for you to sleep in that room.
Why? Is it haunted or something?
Oh, no. No, not haunted. Well, now, if you don't mind, I shall say goodnight, and I hope I can trust you to bring Ilona safely to the hotel. Au revoir. Look over there.
What is it, sir?
Just look. Streams of our fellow guests pouring down the main staircase. Shapes of nightmare. Shapes of delirium. Insane dead masks. Only the eyes move. Wouldn't we be terrified, perhaps, if he would look behind those gargoyle faces?
Oh, no, I don't think so. They're only ordinary people like ourselves.
That, sir, is where you make your mistake. Well, I shall expect you for the weekend, and encore une fois, au revoir.
Ned.
It's all right, Ilona. You can come out from behind those palms.
What was he saying? I couldn't hear.
Ilona, it couldn't be better. Well, he's a very decent old boy, actually. And he's invited me to the Chateau d'Azay.
Did he say anything about the tapestry room?
Yes. He invited me to sleep there.
And you said?
I said I would, naturally.
You mustn't do it, Ned. I won't let you do it.
But why the devil not?
Because everybody who sleeps in that room dies.
Dies? Are you serious?
Oh, Ned, please don't do it.
Oh, nonsense. There are a lot of superstitions about every old house.
This isn't a superstition, Ned. It happened once when I was a little girl. A man insisted on sleeping there. They found him dead in the morning.
So? How did he die?
They don't know. There wasn't a mark on his body. He wasn't shot or stabbed or strangled or poisoned or hurt in any way. He was just dead.
Two nights later, in the province of France now known as Indre-et-Loire, but once called Touraine, the ancient land beloved of Rabelais and Balzac. But now, as the wind moans down the valleys, and rain flickers across the apple trees, and thunder stirs in those haunted hills, it can bring little comfort to a young man driven in an ancient carriage from the railway station along snake-like roads. To what destination? Ahead, a lift of lightning shows the gray walls and conical slate-roofed towers of a chateau set some distance back from the road. Lights shine from its narrow windows, dimly seen through the rain as...
Driver! Coachman!
Oui, monsieur.
Is that the Chateau d'Azay up ahead?
Oui, monsieur. I will take you to the very door if...
If what? Why do you cross yourself?
If I am permitted.
What should stop you?
Only fear, monsieur. And I am not much afraid.
What was that?
Only the dogs, monsieur. They keep many dogs, large dogs, at the Chateau d'Azay. Well, here we are. Bonsoir, monsieur. And if I may be permitted a word of advice...
Well?
Beware of the tapestry room.
There isn't a bell on this door. There might at least be a knocker. Ah, got it.
Et alors, monsieur? Vous cherchez?
Je cherche le Château d'Azay, et
Perhaps it would be better if monsieur spoke English, yes? You are Lord Edward Whiteford.
Yes.
Monsieur is expected. Please to enter. Monsieur's hat and coat.
Thank you.
Ned.
Hello, Ilona. Oh,
N'embrassez pas ma petite, votre uncle.
Oh, you'd better not kiss me, Ned. Madame Flay says to look out for my uncle. Madame Flay is our housekeeper.
Oh. Well, where's your uncle now?
In the drawing room. He's playing the piano. Come along.
Ilona, is anything wrong?
Oh, everything's wrong. 2 of my dogs were in horrible pain this afternoon. Dr. Solomon had to put them out with chloroform.
You don't think that...
I hope nobody's practicing, that's all. Well, here we are.
Oh, nice tiger skins on the floor. I say, who's the little old man with the gray beard sitting over there by the fire?
That's Dr. Solomon.
Oh, hasn't he funny-looking eyes?
He watches and watches and watches. He's an old friend of the family.
Shh, come along. Let's get this over with.
Ah, Lord Edward. Well, I see my niece has anticipated me. Welcome to the Chateau d'Azay.
Thank you, Count Harry.
Oh, you must be very wet after your long drive. Go up to the fire and warm yourself. Madame Flay.
Yes, monsieur?
Please tell Antoine to take our guest's luggage up to the tapestry room.
The tapestry room, monsieur?
That is what I said, Madame Flay.
Yes, monsieur.
By an odd coincidence, Lord Edward, Dr. Solomon and I were just discussing the fate of the last person who slept in a tapestry room.
This is not good, my friend. This is against my advice.
It's against his advice. Here, Dr. Solomon croaking.
This is not good, I tell you. It is the wrong season of the moon.
The wrong moon. But there is no moon tonight. It's raining cats and dogs.
Don't talk about dogs.
Nevertheless, it is the wrong season of the moon. I say no more.
Cheerful blighter, that doctor.
Don't do it, Ned. I won't be responsible if they make you do it.
But look here, Count Harry. What did happen to the last bloke who slept in the tapestry room?
You mustn't call him a bloke, sir. He was a very saintly gentleman. The Bishop of Tours. That was some time ago when Ilona was only 15 years old, but surely she must remember it.
I remember it.
The church, said our bishop, has no use for superstitions. Well, he insisted on sleeping there. I made it as comfortable for him as possible, but he was found dead next morning with a crucifix still in his hand.
Was it poison?
There was no poison, monsieur.
No. Here, Dr. Solomon.
It's true, Ned.
Well, there were just 2 very curious things. You see, in connection with that death, on a mantelpiece there was found burning a stick of incense. Just ordinary incense, nothing wrong with it.
Yes, sir?
And under the dressing table, the police found it was an empty jar of ointment. Now, use your wits. A dead man, some burning incense, and an empty jar of ointment. What do you make of that?
Oh, I don't make anything of it. It's crazy.
Please do not speak like that.
I'm sorry.
It is still the wrong season of the moon.
Well, what I really meant, sir, was this. Is there any reason for this story of death?
Reason?
Any legend attached to the room or anything like that?
Yes, there is.
Well, sir?
Well, we are a very old family, Lord Edward. Old and perhaps accursed. When my ancestors moved from Hungary to France in the 17th century, they brought certain beliefs with them. The old religion.
The old religion?
Yes, the cult of Diana, the cult of Janus, the cult of freedom and fertility. The witch cult, if you prefer.
Oh, now look here, sir.
Must we talk about this?
Well, you smile, but when I say the word witch, you think of some humorous picture on a Halloween's card. It was very different in the Middle Ages, believe me. Then, my friend, there existed an organized religion which rivaled the church. There were many to worship unashamed at the grand Sabbath. Many to receive all favors from Saturn, their master. and to dance forever, joyously in a red, flaming quadrils of hell. Some 200 years ago, an ancestress of mine, Caterina Coulouris, was tortured to death in a tapestry room for professing the old religion. Many persons have not thought it safe to sleep there since. Are you answered?
Oh, come, sir. This is some kind of elaborate joke, isn't it?
Joke? The Bishop of Tours did not find it a joke.
Not a mark on his body. I assure you as a physician, not a mark on his body.
No, not a mark on his body. Here, Dr. Solomon.
Yes, I hear him.
Well, understand me, Lord Edward, there's no compulsion in this. If you do wish to sleep in that room, all right. If you don't
ridiculous.
wish...
I'm not afraid to sleep there, sir.
Well, I thought perhaps you wanted to change your mind.
Oh, never. Would you like me to make a wager on that?
What sort of wager?
Well, if I spend the night in this famous room and come out of it alive...
Yes?
Will you give your consent to the marriage immediately? Tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning? Why?
Because I don't think the atmosphere of this house is good for a loner. What do you say? Will you do it?
Very well, Lord Edward. I accept the terms of your wager.
Don't do it, Ned. For the love of heaven, don't do it.
High up in the north tower of the Chateau d'Azay, under the conical slate roof, is the circular room hung with faded tapestries. These tapestries move slightly with uneasy, mimic life to the clamor of the storm outside. Candles burn along the mantelpiece and beside the great four-poster bed. The flames of these candles waver, too, as the door opens.
This is the tapestry room, monsieur.
Thank you, Madame Flay.
That is the mantelpiece where the incense burned. That is the bed where Monseigneur le Bishop died.
Very inviting, isn't it?
Will there be anything else monsieur requires? Some sandwiches? A decanter of whiskey?
Oh, no, thanks. I had a drink with the Count Coulouris before I came upstairs.
Bien, monsieur. Monsieur's shaving water will be brought up in the morning, if he requires it. Good night.
That little hoppy. Trying to scare a fellow out of his wits just because... Oh, well, they built a good fire anyway. Didn't realize how cold it was. Temperature must have dropped. What's that?
It's me, Ilona. May I come in?
No, Ilona. Get out of here.
That's not very gallant of you.
No, I mean, I don't want you exposed to whatever it is.
Ned, listen. Are you going to bed, or are you going to sit up all night?
I'm going to sit up all night, naturally.
Then let me sit up with you.
No.
Why not?
Well, it may be dangerous. Besides, I promised your uncle I'd go through with this alone.
I wish you hadn't had that drink with him.
Why? He couldn't have done anything to it. It was you who poured it.
Yes, that's true, only... Listen.
What is that?
It sounds like footsteps.
Yes, but where's it coming from?
Seems to be right here in the room.
It seems to come from all directions.
Doesn't it sound like somebody walking between the walls?
By George, it is someone walking inside the wall. Get behind that tapestry, Ilona. Quick. Hide there. Count Coulouris, where did you come from?
Oh, forgive me, Lord Edward, for seeming to appear out of the wall and between the tapestries. Like Mephisto appearing to Faust, huh? And this red dressing gown perhaps adds to the effect, too.
How'd you get here? A passage between the walls?
Yes, exactly. Little device my ancestors for visiting this room. You know, they invented that when its occupant was so unmannerly as to bolt the door.
Door's not bolted. You could have walked straight in.
But I couldn't have done it unobserved.
No. Maybe not.
Have you had any other visitors, Lord Edward?
No.
Are you quite sure of that?
Quite sure.
Well, then, since nobody saw me come here, I'll just sit down by the fire. Please sit opposite me.
Is this the showdown, sir?
don't understand.
Well, there's got to be a showdown between us. Is that why you're here?
Oh, I'm here, young man, to explain certain things to you. Will you have a cigarette?
Thank you.
Oh, they're perfectly all right. That is what you're afraid of?
I'll have one, yes.
A light?
Thank you.
Well, when I was discussing the witch cult a while ago, you didn't appear to think I meant what I said.
Do you want a perfectly frank answer to that?
Yes.
I think you're mad enough to mean anything.
What you say, in a sense, is quite true. See, in an old and inbred family like ours, the mind can crack and the fantasies of witchcraft become as real, well, more real than the living world. Let me give you an example.
Go on.
The saucer on a table beside you is Ming porcelain. It was once owned by Caterina Coulouris, a martyr of the old religion. Yet you are using it as an ashtray.
Oh, I beg the witch lady's pardon. I'll blow off the ash.
Well, that's a very dangerous remark, sir. Don't you understand that the worship of evil can be as strong and compelling as the worship of good? That the devil can have his saints, too? That to a sick brain which knows but can't help itself, you have profaned this room merely by entering it. And therefore, you deserve to die.
Like the Bishop of Tours?
Exactly.
You're not going to tell me the devil killed him?
The devil's agent may be flesh and blood.
Then it was murder.
Oh, of course it was murder. Murder so cunningly contrived that no one ever saw through it.
Go on.
I asked you before to use your wits on this problem. Well, look, incense was burned in this room. You know why?
Suppose you tell me.
Well, obviously, I think to conceal something else, which would be too easily noticed.
To conceal what?
For instance, the smell of chloroform.
Chloroform?
Yes. A drug not very well understood by laymen. Dr. Solomon, by the way, was using chloroform this afternoon to dispose of some dogs.
So I've heard.
Well, Dr. Solomon is old and very forgetful.
You mean chloroform could be stolen?
Oh, yes, it could be easily. Now, just suppose I take a pad saturated with chloroform. I place it over the mouth and nostrils of a man already sleeping or drugged so that he gets no air.
Wait a minute. That won't do.
Why not?
Chloroform burns and blisters when it touches the skin. You'd leave marks.
Oh, not at all, my friend. Not at all. If I first covered the mouth and nostrils with some substance like...
Ointment.
Yes. Now you're waking up.
Hi.
Now observe what follows. In a few seconds, unconsciousness. In 2 minutes or 3 minutes, death.
Certain death, yes.
Oh, but chloroform, you see. It evaporates very quickly. There is no trace in the stomach since nothing has been swallowed. Well, delay your post-mortem for 24 hours. Very easy matter in these country districts, and no trace remains in the blood. Murder without a mark, Lord Edward. Murder without a mark.
You can't do it, Count Kohani. There's one thing you're forgetting.
What is that?
I'm not sleeping and I'm not drugged.
Oh, yes, you are.
How? When? In the cigarette?
No. In a drink you had with me.
What was it?
Morphine. And you've had enough to put 3 men to sleep. See, that's it. Well, try to get up.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
You see? You've knocked over the fire irons. You'd have been in the fire yourself if I hadn't caught you.
Take your hands off me.
Just as you please.
If I could reach that bell pull.
Well, but you can't. Well, better sit down again.
You murdering lunatic. So that's how you killed the Bishop of Tours. And that's how you're going to kill me.
Who, I? Well, you don't think I killed the Bishop of Tours.
Didn't you?
You fool. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to save you. Dr. Solomon.
Yes, monsieur.
Well, come out. Come in the room. Come out and be my witness.
Yes, monsieur. I shall always guard the family honor, even when I guess how men die.
This young man evidently thinks I've been talking about myself. Am I, in a popular parlance, insane?
Oh, monsieur. Heaven forbid. I have never known a saner man.
Have you any notion, Lord Edward, why I brought you to this house? You would never have believed me if I had merely told you. So I had to bring you here to show you.
Show me what?
What?
Look at the tapestries.
Come out of there!
Behind them.
Come out of there! Hey, come out!
Ilona!
Yes, Ilona. Why do you think I've kept Ilona so well guarded from the world? Why, at a fancy dress ball, for instance, did I object to the costume of a medieval witch, whose dogs were poisoned so that chloroform should be brought? Who poured the drink, drugged with morphine?
In the devil's name, what are you trying to tell me?
It was Ilona. She's been helplessly, hopelessly insane for more than 10 years.
And so closes The Devil's Saint, starring Peter Lorre. Tonight's tale of suspense. This is your narrator, the man in black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday.
William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor, and John Dickson Carr, the author, are collaborators on
Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our star tonight is Bela Lugosi, playing the part of Professor Antonio Basile, psychologist. The story is by J. Donald Wilson, who calls it The Doctor Prescribed Death. If you have been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. This series of tales is calculated to intrigue you, stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so it is with The Doctor Prescribed Death and Bela Lugosi's performance. We again hope to keep you in suspense. Professor Antonio Basile has a theory, but let him tell you about it.
As a psychologist, I have worked out a theory I know to be sound. I contend that a person who has decided to kill himself can very easily be turned from this desire to the desire of taking the life of another. I can prove my theory. And if necessary, that is exactly what I will do.
Yes, Professor Antonio Basile has a theory, but only a theory. And he's worried about what his publisher will say, so he visits the editor, whose name is Hellman. Hellman finishes the manuscript and tosses it on the desk. Professor Basile leans forward eagerly and...
Well, Hellman, what do you think?
Professor Basile, it's purely conjecture, simply a theory, and I wouldn't advise publishing it.
I worked on that theory for a long time. I'm positive of it. I know it'll work.
Suppose it will. What good is it? What good have you accomplished if you can prove it'll work?
Are you laughing at me, Hellman?
It's so silly. An ordinary human being has suffered reverses. Is sick of it all. He wants to leave it all behind. And you say he can be changed to want to kill someone else.
I do. Self-destruction and the destruction of other life are closely related in the mind. The dividing line is very thin.
It's ridiculous.
And you won't publish it?
Granger would fire me.
Why?
He told me that, in his opinion, you should be in the asylum.
Mr. Granger said that. Does he think I'm insane?
How do I know?
Hellman, Mr. Granger didn't say that. It's you who thinks I'm crazy. You've never liked me. For some reason, you are trying to tear me down. Well, we'll see, Mr. Hellman. We'll see.
Now, wait a minute.
I'll show you whether my works are illogical. I'll show you whether I'm insane.
Oh, calm down.
I'm going to make you eat those words. I know you don't like me, but I'm going to prove that my theory is sound. Good night.
Wait a minute. Basile, wait.
You wait, Hellman. You wait.
Yes, wait, Hellman. Wait. Professor Basile, seething with resentment, rushes from the office and strides angrily down the street.
Insane, huh? I'll prove my theory. I'll find a subject. I'll find someone who wants to take his own life.
And so Basile goes home, late for dinner. He finds a note from his wife, Myra, saying she's decided to attend the opera and will be home around 11:30. Then Professor Basile gets an inspiration. He goes to the bridge over the deep canyon, the bridge called Suicide. And strangely enough, he hasn't long to wait. As he stands against the railing in the fog, a figure appears a few feet beyond, stops, prepares to leap.
Don't do it. Wait a minute. Listen.
Huh?
That's very silly.
Let go of me.
Oh, no. I couldn't do that. I need you.
I don't need you.
Don't you know this is against the law?
You're not an officer. You can't stop me.
It's 500 feet to those tracks below. Hard steel rails. And don't believe what they all tell you about not being conscious of what happened. You'd know. People don't die instantly.
Let loose.
They lie in agony for minutes and sometimes for an hour. It's a horrible death, I know.
How do you know?
I'm a doctor.
Doctor?
Yes. I can tell you much simpler ways, much less painful ways, and quicker. You're a nice young girl, an intelligent girl. You wouldn't want it to happen this way. Maybe after I talk to you a while, you wouldn't want to do this at all.
No?
No. But come on. Let's talk it over. Maybe a few minutes' talk will change the entire picture for you.
What could you do to help me?
If you'll come, I'll tell you. There's a motive back of your wanting to do this, and I'd like to know what it is.
Nothing doing.
Haven't you any relatives? Any loved ones you'd like to do something for?
Yes?
Then if you'll talk with me for a while, maybe I can find my way clear to help those people.
You sound crazy to me.
Oh, no.
All right, I'll... Where?
My apartment.
Let's go.
Well, here we are. Come in, please.
Well, what do you want to know?
Sit down first. Are you hungry?
No, I'm not that broke. It isn't poverty.
I knew that. I could tell by your clothes. Now first, why did you come here?
Why? Why, because you talked me into it.
I see. You're not afraid of me?
Afraid? In my frame of mind. What can I lose?
Suppose I told you that I really brought you here to kill you.
Kill me?
You know, you're a very pretty girl, don't you?
Yeah? That doesn't always mean so much.
The right man, it might.
That's what I thought. But I found out it didn't mean a thing.
Ah, then it was because of a man. I knew it.
Really? How did you guess?
I'm a student of psychology. I'm Professor Antonio Basil.
I see. And you want to know what makes me tick. You want to know the reason behind my action tonight.
That's right. I would like to know what happened to make you want to kill yourself. Suicide is a mental aberration.
Yeah?
I'd like to know what preceded the decision to destroy yourself. And what you thought about until the moment I stopped you on the bridge.
What good will that do me?
You said you weren't broke, but you also said you had some loved ones you'd like to do something for.
I meant I wasn't broke to the point of being hungry. I have a few dollars. But you suggested help for someone in larger terms.
Yes, I did. Who is the loved one?
My mother.
You are her only means of support?
Yes.
And you intend to kill yourself?
Yes.
That's being selfish, isn't it?
Selfish?
Yes. You are concentrating solely on self.
You think so?
What else? The first law of human nature is self-preservation, right?
I suppose so.
The second law is the preservation of family.
Yeah?
So you decide to deny the first law and destroy yourself. And as a consequence, deny the second and leave your mother alone and in need. You indicate a form of insanity.
What would be normal?
To destroy the other person. The one who has done you wrong. Have you hurt him?
No.
Then the one who has done wrong should be the one to suffer. You have no legal recourse?
Legal recourse? No, I haven't, I'm sorry to say.
And you would kill yourself to let your poor mother suffer because of the wrong of another. Why shouldn't he be the one to suffer?
I suppose you're right. Why shouldn't he?
What happened after all? Why not tell me about it? Were you married?
No. He never seemed to find time to get around to marriage.
What's your name?
Gladys. Gladys Tanner.
How long had you known him?
Almost 4 years.
And you always thought he meant to marry you?
Yes. Until 3 weeks ago.
Yes?
On July 1st, he had to leave town for a week on business. Said he was going to Kansas City. When he came back, he seemed to be too busy to see me. Then a week ago, I found a snapshot along with several others in his desk in his home.
May I see it?
Certainly. It's a picture of him and another woman. But the picture was not taken in Kansas City.
It wasn't?
No. It was taken on the beach at Atlantic City. And it's dated by the finisher, July 3rd. Since he returned, he's refused to see me. Yesterday, he finally said he didn't care to see me anymore. That I'd better forget him.
But it isn't so easy as that, is it?
No. I figured I'd done something. And blame myself.
Do you know this blonde woman in this snapshot?
No.
Then it must be a woman he has met recently. You've known him for 4 years. I don't think you are to blame. He's the one in the wrong. And he should be made to suffer.
How?
You were going to kill yourself. Why should you? Kill him instead. He double-crossed you. He deserves it. Now, let me go a little deeper into the situation. Whenever a person has reached the conclusion to take his life... of your mind, Miss Tanner?
Positive.
Now, if you're careful, you won't be caught.
No.
But whether you are or not, I'm giving you this check for $1,000 made out to cash to be sent to your mother only after the man is dead. Write his name on this pad.
There you are.
I will know what has happened by the newspapers. And I will withhold payment until I learn that you have gone through with it.
It'll happen tonight.
Very well. You are sure? You are determined?
Absolutely. Nothing could stop me.
Very good.
But just what would happen if I did get caught?
You won't get caught if you follow my instructions. I know. Now, here is a small revolver. It'll fit easily in your purse. That's all you need. Be sure to wipe your fingerprints off and leave the gun near the body.
Well, goodbye, Dr. Basile.
Goodbye, Gladys, and good luck.
Professor Basile watches Gladys as she crosses the street to the dimly lighted bus stop. Then he rushes to his car and drives away. A few minutes later, he comes to a stop at Hellman's house. Hellman, the editor who ridiculed his theory.
Just a minute. Oh. Hello, Basile.
Good evening, Herman. Thought I'd drop out to have a little chat with you.
Well, why this time of night? It's kind of late, isn't it?
11. Didn't think that was late for you.
No? Come in.
Thanks.
Sit down. What's on your mind?
I want to talk to you about my theory you ridicule so definitely. My theory about suicide.
Oh. Well, I just don't believe it, that's all.
And I said I'd prove it, didn't I?
Yes, but what are you getting at?
It's going to be proved. My theory is going to be proved tonight.
Well, that's fine. Go right ahead and prove it.
I don't like you, Hellman. I never liked you. And I know you don't like me.
I can't help that, Basile. What are you staring at?
Is there someone here with you?
Certainly not. Why?
That's a woman's purse on the davenport.
Oh, my secretary dropped by earlier this evening with the manuscript. She must have forgotten it.
She's not here now?
Of course not.
Then I'll continue. I found a subject. A girl who was ready to commit suicide because a man jilted her. In a few hours, I was successful in changing her thoughts from suicide to homicide, and she is going to kill the man tonight. What do you think of that?
There may be a dozen murders tonight.
Ah, but you'll know which one I mean. You'll know about this murder.
What do you mean?
Because I'm going to tell you who the victim is going to be.
You know who the intended victim is? Why don't you stop it?
But then I wouldn't have proved my theory.
If you put this girl up to it, you're as guilty as she is. You're insane, Basile, hopelessly insane.
You think so, Herman?
The whole idea is mad, too utterly ridiculous for words. No sane man would ever think of such a useless, senseless idea. And for heaven's sake, stop laughing.
I'm thinking about the victim when he learns.
Who is the victim?
Martin Hellman.
Me?
Yes, you.
I don't believe you.
You will this time.
Who is this girl? I know no girl who'd want to kill me.
This one does. Now.
Oh, nonsense. However, I wouldn't put it past you to hire someone to do something like this.
No, this girl is no fake. This girl is serious, deadly serious.
You probably hypnotized some poor woman, figuring she'd never remember what happened.
Oh, Hellman, you underestimate me.
Maybe I do underestimate your evil mind. But believe
Put
me...
up your hands, Hellman. Get away from that desk. I'll just take care of that gun, Hellman. That's better.
Well, since when did you start carrying a gun, Basile?
A gun? Don't be silly. This isn't a gun in my pocket. It's just my pipe. See? Well, what do you hear, Herman?
Nothing.
Oh, yes, you do. I heard it, too. A sound on the porch. I leave now. The back way. I put your gun in the kitchen. And I'll be very careful to remove all my fingerprints.
You insane fool.
Oh, fancy you. You, Hellman, you are going to help prove my theory. Good night, Hellman.
Crazy devil. I'll have him locked up before he gets across town.
Good evening, Mr. Hellman.
Huh? How did you get in here?
Through the patio door.
What do you want?
I wanted to talk to you.
Very strangely.
You're just imagining things.
And what are you doing here?
I wanted to tell you something.
Yeah? What?
When you first indicated to me that you were through with me, I was terribly hurt. I thought all along that we were to be married. I couldn't understand. I tried and tried to think of something I'd done to cause our breakup. Then I happened to find this snapshot in your desk.
Snapshot?
Take a look at it. Kansas City. No, Atlantic City, New Jersey. You and a blonde. And the date is stamped on the back. A business trip. Ha!
Well, what about it?
I just wanted you to know that you weren't so slick. I wanted you to know that I knew about the blonde. That I knew you'd lied.
Now that you've told me, what good does it do you?
A lot of good.
First, I thought you came here for money.
How could you think such a thing?
Well, I think you'd better go now.
I'm going. Goodbye, Morton. And good luck in your new venture.
What venture?
This one.
Gladys! Gladys!
And wish me luck in mine.
Gladys stands staring a moment at the body of Hellman, then wipes off the gun, drops it to the floor, takes the professor's check from her purse, steps to Hellman's desk and writes a note. Then she puts the note in an envelope with the check, addresses it, stamps it, turns out the lights, and steps out into the dark street. At the corner, she drops the envelope in the mailbox and disappears. Professor Basile heard the shots. His theory worked. Hellman will torment him no more. The perfect crime. So he can go home to his wife now and go to sleep.
Myra. Myra.
Huh? What? Oh, Antonio.
What are you doing asleep on the Davenport? Do you know what time it is?
It must be after midnight. I've been waiting for you.
How was opera?
Oh, fair. Nothing to brag about.
Who sang the lead?
Belchiati. He wasn't very good.
Belchiati?
Mm-hmm. He's a poor Othello.
Othello? I thought they were doing Aida tonight.
No, they switched because someone was ill. Oh, I just as soon have stayed home.
Have a nightcap, Myra?
No, thanks. I'm tired. I think I'll go to bed.
I'll be along presently. Good night.
Then the night passes and the morning comes. The professor rises cheerfully and prepares for breakfast. Then...
I'll get it, Myra. Yes?
Are you Professor Basile?
Yes.
May we come in? We'd like to talk with you.
Of course. What is it you want?
Is your wife in?
Yes.
We'd like to see her, too.
What?
Oh, I'm Lieutenant Davis. Detective headquarters.
Well, what do you want?
Will you call your wife?
Why, certainly. Myra. But what's this all about?
What is it, Antonio?
These men are from detective headquarters. They want to talk to us.
Really? What about?
May I ask where you were last night, Mrs. Basile?
Certainly. I went to the opera.
What time did you get home?
Oh, I imagine it was around 11 or shortly after.
Mm-hmm. Were you at home last evening, Professor?
Well, I was at the club and got home about 12:30.
By the way, do you know a Morton Hellman?
Certainly.
What about him?
He's been murdered.
Murdered?
Good Lord.
When?
Around midnight last night. I found him this morning.
How terrible. Why, I've known him for years. He was editor-in-chief of the company publishing my writings. I'm a psychologist, you know.
Yes, we know.
But what do you want to know from us? We weren't connected socially with Hellman. Just in business.
Did you know him, Mrs. Basile?
Yes, I knew him very slightly.
Do either of you know of anyone who'd have reason to kill him?
Certainly not. Everyone thought highly of him.
Did you ever hear of a girl named Gladys Tanner?
Gladys Tanner? No.
Did you know of a Gladys Tanner, Mrs. Basile?
No.
Is this your purse, Mrs. Basile?
Why, of course it is. That's the one I gave you last Christmas, Myra.
Well, yes. I must have lost it downtown.
Where did you find it, Lieutenant?
At Hellman's home.
Hellman's home? Well, how in the world?
Good heavens, but
We found it on the sofa.
But I can't imagine how it could get there.
And this is the revolver that killed Hellman, found on the floor beside him.
What?
No fingerprints on it, however.
What?
May I see it? Why, Myra, this is your gun. I bought this for you 2 years ago when I went on the lecture tour.
Yes, I think it's mine, but it just doesn't make sense.
Did you have the gun in your purse when you lost it last night?
Well, perhaps I did. I'm so confused now I can't remember.
Think, Myra. Think, it is terrible.
Oh, I know. Oh, dear, I feel ill.
Did you ever fire this gun?
Yes, once last year up in the mountains. I wanted to see how it worked.
Ever reload it?
No, I've never reloaded it. I just didn't think about it. Maybe I did put it in my purse. Why, I don't know. And whoever found the purse may have used the gun to... Oh, I just can't seem to think.
This gun misfired on the first 2 shots. The other 3 killed Hellman.
This is the most amazing piece of coincidence I ever heard of. Why would my wife want to do such a thing? Why should she get to Hellman? She hardly knew him.
Are you sure about that, Professor?
Of course.
Well, sorry to say that I don't believe her.
What? This is ridiculous.
This is going to be a shock to you, Professor, but here's a snapshot we found on Hellman's desk. Taken in Atlantic City last July.
Good heavens. Why? This is you, Myra. You and Hellman. You were at your mother's in Florida in July. Myra, look at me. What does this mean?
I can't.
And I can't believe such a thing.
May I have the purse, the gun, and the photo? Thank you. I'm sorry, but I'll have to take her down to headquarters.
But I didn't kill him. I didn't. I wouldn't. I loved him.
Myra. You better pull yourself together. You'll have to go back.
You'll want photos and fingerprints.
Yes. Better get it ready, Myra. Certainly looks bad for her.
Afraid it does. Looks like an open and shut case. Oh, will you come along, too, Professor?
Certainly.
And so it all worked out beautifully. Not quite as the professor had planned. But then he changed his plan from the moment when Gladys Tanner showed him the snapshot taken in Atlantic City. And he realized that the girl's fiancé was Hellman, and that the blonde was Myra, his wife. He had no intention of allowing Gladys Tanner to kill Hellman until he saw that snapshot. And when he recognized Myra's purse in Hellman's home, he decided to let Gladys kill him and the blame be placed on Myra. The perfect crime. But several hours later, after fingerprints and many questions, the professor is just about to be dismissed when Sergeant Rankin steps into the room and speaks quietly to Lieutenant Davis.
What is it, Rankin?
I stayed at Basile's place, as you said.
Well?
A few minutes ago, a special delivery letter came for the professor. This'll knock your eye out. Read it.
Huh? Well, this fits perfectly with the writing we were trying to make out on Helm's desk blotter. Professor, here's a letter sent special delivery to you a few minutes ago, postmarked last night. Read it.
Dear Professor Basile, your theory worked a certain degree. You convinced me I should kill him. But when that gun you gave me misfired twice, I almost quit.
Go ahead, Professor. Read on.
Then as I looked at him on the floor, the feeling of self-destruction came back. I'm going ahead with my plan. Here's your check. I won't need it. Besides, I lied to you. I lost my mother long ago. Better luck next time. Gladys, Tanner.
And a half hour ago, they found her body beneath Suicide Bridge.
Well, Professor, your perfect crime has failed.
Failed. Yes, failed.
Wonderful setup on paper, but your theory backfired and you're up for murder.
But I didn't kill him.
But you planned it, and you're as guilty as Gladys. She's paid her penalty. Now it's your turn.
No. I won't be hanged. Never!
Break and grab him!
And now the doctor lies on the sidewalk 17 stories below. His entire theory worked in reverse. And so closes the doctor-prescribed death, starring Bela Lugosi. Tonight's story of Suspense. It came to you from Columbia Square in Hollywood. This is the man in black who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday when we present the noted actor, Mr. Sidney Greenstreet, in The Hangman Won't Wait. William Spear, the producer, Ted Bliss, the director, Lud Gluskin, the musical director, Lucian Mahuik, the composer, and J. Donald Wilson, the author, collaborated on tonight's Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.